The four of them then went to a nearby village and held a begging competition to prove which of them had the greatest begging ability. And whoever earns the most money from begging in an hour will be sworn in as the king of beggars. When the competition begins, Suchan meets an old man who says that Suchan is the reincarnation of a dragon and has the rare talent to master the greatest martial arts of this century. The old man even gave a book containing the dragon subduing Palm's collection of martial techniques to him. Before Suchan could say anything, the old man had suddenly disappeared, so he only thought of him as an insane person. When Suchan was looking for a place to beg, one of the beggars named Xie Yan then showed his begging technique by taking advantage of the kindness and gentleness of a rich old woman who was also a devout Buddhist. After that, Suchan was again surprised by Tao Hong's begging technique, which succeeded in deceiving a rich man. However, what made Suchan even more astonished was when he saw Lao Dao begging by telling the story of his life full of suffering, which was able to attract the sympathy and compassion of many people and was willing to give him money. Meanwhile, Suchan didn't get any money at all, so Mrs. Jin's daughter, Xiao Guo, decided to help Suchan. Xiao Guo then asked him to approach a woman who looked rich to offer her a lip balm. With Xiao Guo's help, the woman finally bought the item Suchan offered. However, they turned out to be just deceiving the woman because the woman's lips became swollen after wearing the lipstick. It didn't stop there. Suchan then disguised himself as a healer and the monk to deceive the woman again, and ended up getting a lot of money. But then, Suchan instead felt guilty for committing fraud just to get money. An hour later, the beggars gathered to determine the winner of this year's begging competition, where they announced that the winner was Lao Dao. Xiao Guo, who did not accept the decision because Suchan got more money from Lao Dao, then challenged the decision in front of the other beggars. However, Lao Dao argued that Suchan got the money with the help of Xiao Guo, not with his own abilities, so that Suchan was not worthy of the title of the king of beggars. Meanwhile, in another place, a government official was found dead smiling broadly with his mouth ripped to the cheek. According to a forensic expert, the cause of the man's death was an extreme pleasure before his death, which may have been caused by the influence of certain poisons or drugs. However, Lei Xiaofeng, the police chief who investigated the man's death case, did not find any poison or other drugs at the crime scene, so they had to look for other clues to uncover the case. At the same time, Xiao Guo looked worried when she read the news of the mysterious deaths experienced by wealthy men, because according to rumors, they died in very terrible circumstances. Xiao Guo's attention was then diverted when she heard her mother's screams, who were arguing with a middle-aged woman, because the woman thought that Mrs. Jin had sold opium to her husband. However, Mrs. Jin immediately denied the accusations, so the two women got into a heated argument. The woman then called her bodyguards to attack Mrs. Jin, but Xiao Guo and Suchan got there first and rushed to protect her. Xiao Guo then told Suchan to drink a bottle of wine, which then made him drunk and used the drunken god martial technique to deal with the thugs. This action actually attracted the attention of people who became amazed and gave money, thinking that Suchan was doing a show. After successfully expelling the woman and her bodyguards, Suchan resumed his actions, then accidentally kicked Mrs. Jin and fainted. Xiao Feng and several of his men who happened to be passing through the road then rushed to Suchan and wanted to throw him into prison for allegedly molesting a woman. But then, Mrs. Jin finally wakes up and defends him by saying that Suchan is her husband, and they are doing a show to make money. Meanwhile, at the Tianmen sect headquarters, the sect leader named Chao Kong is seen scolding a healer who has been in charge of concocting the drugs. Chao Kong ordered the man to remix the drug with a lighter composition, because recently, the fragrant bomb containing opium, which was previously meant to make their customers addicted, had actually caused them to die in a very gruesome way. He certainly didn't want to lose his customers if the medicine he was selling cost them their lives. Not wanting to get punished, the healer promised that he would redo the medicine within 10 days. However, Chao Kong ordered him to prepare the new fragrant bomb within 5 days. While waiting for the doctor to make a new concoction of the drug, Chao Kong then ordered his subordinates to temporarily stop selling their products, because it would be very dangerous if the police managed to get clues to the mysterious deaths of rich men who led to the Tianmen sect. That evening, at Yixin Tea House, a male customer named Liu was seen begging a member of the Tianmen sect, a woman named Wei, to let him inhale the fragrant bomb containing opium. Liu seemed to be very addicted to it, and if he didn't inhale the opium regularly, he would feel excruciating pain all over his body. He even offered Wei a letter of approval and business cooperation so that she could more freely sell the fragrant bomb to her customers. Knowing that Wei was going to temporarily stop selling the drug, Liu recklessly took the fragrant bomb away and hid it somewhere. The next day, Mrs. Jin came to Yixin Tea House, intending to sell her blended tobacco to the rich men who were regulars at the tea house. However, she immediately gave up her intention because Xiao Feng and his men suddenly carried out a raid on the place, because after they carried out further investigations, the victims of mysterious deaths with their mouths ripped from laughing were known to have been regular customers of Yixin Tea House. Not wanting to be found out, Mrs. Jin rushed off and hid where Liu kept the fragrant bomb. Mrs. Jin, who was very curious about the object, took the fragrant bomb and went home. On the other hand, Wei looks irritated when she finds out that the fragrant bomb has been stolen, and immediately orders her subordinates to find the item. Arriving at the house, Mrs. Jin was surprised by her simple birthday celebration, which Suchan and the other beggars had prepared. They then eat together and drink until drunk. Knowing that everyone had lost consciousness from being too drunk, Mrs. Jin then took out the fragrant bomb and instead ate the opium inside. Immediately, she experienced the hallucination of becoming rich, which then caused her body to be filled with extreme pleasure. Until the next day, Xiao Guo found that her mother had died with her mouth being torn off due to being too happy with the hallucinations caused by the opium. Xiao Feng and members of the police immediately conducted an investigation at Mrs. Jin's house and brought her body for an autopsy. At the same time, one of Wei's men saw Mrs. Jin, who was brought by the police, immediately rushed to Yixin Tea House to report to Wei about this. That night, Xiao Guo revealed to Suchan that he had a token when they found Suchan unconscious a year ago. Because the token was very good, Mrs. Jin then asked her daughter to keep it for herself. Now that her mother is gone, Xiao Guo returns the token to him, hoping that Suchan can find his relatives with the token. However, Suchan said that since the past year, Xiao Guo and her mother had taken good care of him and had considered them as his relatives. Therefore, he also promised to take care of Xiao Guo after her mother died. In the middle of their conversation, suddenly, a member of the Tianmen sect, a man named Qi, barged into the house and asked about the fragrant bomb that had been stolen by Mrs. Jin. Since Suchan didn't know anything about the object, he then ordered Xiao Guo to get out of there, while he was going to fight Qi. Suchan then drank some wine to get himself drunk, so he could use the drunken god martial technique to deal with Qi. At the same time, Wei also came there and tried to catch Xiao Guo, who was trying to escape. Suchan's battle against Qi becomes more and more fierce, until Suchan finally overpowers Qi and defeats him, while Wei manages to kidnap Xiao Guo and kill Lao Dao when he tries to save her. Seeing Xiao Guo being taken away, Suchan rushed after them into the wilderness, but instead he ran into two other members of the Tianmen sect, Wang and Liang, who attacked him, causing him to fall down. Because his head hit a rock, Suchan finally regained his memories of his true identity, and also the important events that happened a year ago. Meanwhile, at the Tianmen sect headquarters, Wei reports to Chao Kang that they couldn't find the fragrant bomb that had been stolen, and assumes that it has been handed over to the police. Hearing this, Chao Kang became very angry, especially when he found out that Suchan was still alive when he saw the scars on Qi's body, which were the result of being hit by the fire shadow kick technique, a unique kick method of Suchan, the police chief who killed Guizhou a year ago. Chao Kang thought that Suchan had not just disappeared, but disguised himself as a beggar. After learning that Wei managed to kidnap a girl who seemed very precious to Suchan, Chao Kang planned to use the girl to get Suchan to give back the fragrant bomb from the police and hand it over to them to save Xiao Guo's life. Elsewhere, Suchan finally managed to get up and return to Mrs. Jin's house, though he felt extremely cold because of the icy palm technique used by Wang to knock him down. While trying to warm up, Suchan found the dragon subduing palm martial technique book that was previously given to him by an old man. He then practiced martial techniques according to the methods taught in the book, until finally, he was able to master it and was free from Wang's icy palm technique. When Suchan had finished his training, Wei suddenly appeared with Wang and Liang, where she ordered Suchan to take the fragrant bomb from the government office and exchange it for Xiao Guo's life. Wei also threatened that she would not hesitate to kill Xiao Guo if he failed to get the fragrant bomb and handed it over to them. To save Xiao Guo, Suchan had no choice but to obey her. Meanwhile, a forensic expert named Mei is conducting an autopsy on Mrs. Jin and finds the fragrant bomb which is still in her hand. They also concluded that Mrs. Jin died of an overdose because she had eaten the fragrant bomb containing high doses of opium. Mei reveals to Xiao Feng that the drug can cause hallucinations and stimulate organs in the body, thus giving extraordinary effects to anyone who inhales or even eats it. At the same time, Suchan, who tried to infiltrate the place, was caught by Xiao Feng, who had just come out of the autopsy room. Xiao Feng immediately attacked Suchan, and the two of them then got into a fierce fight, where he immediately realized that the person he was fighting with was Suchan, his colleague in the police force who had disappeared a year ago. Not long after, the other policemen arrived and immediately surrounded Suchan. Knowing that he had come there for something important, Xiao Feng pretended to be a hostage and handed Suchan the fragrant bomb, then let him leave. The next day, Suchan rushed to meet Wei and the other members of the Tianmen sect at the appointed place for an exchange. But as it turned out, Wei and the others trapped and attacked him. When Suchan became desperate, Xiao Feng arrived there and directly helped him fight against the members of the Tianmen sect. Together, they were able to defeat both Wang and Liang at once. However, Wei, who saw that her partners had died, did not remain silent, and breathed opium powder at Suchan and Xiao Feng until both of them experienced hallucinations after inhaling the drug. For a while, Suchan and Xiao Feng were caught in a hallucination that caught them off guard, until they finally managed to free themselves from the effects of the drug, although in the process, Suchan was seriously injured. Xiao Feng rushed to take Suchan to a healer so that his life could be saved. Long story short, Suchan, who had fully recovered from his severe injuries, decided to attack the Tianmen sect headquarters to save Xiao Guo. Xie Yan and Tao Hong also decided to help him save her, including taking revenge on them for killing Lao Dao and causing Mrs. Jin to be killed. Not only Xie Yan and Tao Hong, Xiao Feng also said that he would help Suchan because he wanted to stop the evil of the Tianmen sect, which had caused mysterious deaths and made the residents addicted to opium. Suchan and his comrades finally discovered the whereabouts of the Tianmen sect headquarters, which turned out to be under the Yixin tea house. Arriving there, they are immediately greeted by Chao Kong, who then reveals his plan to dominate the city by spreading opium smoke throughout the city, which will make everyone addicted. After telling Suchan and his comrades his purpose, Chao Kong then ordered Wei and his subordinates to kill them, while he would burn the fragrant bomb in a huge furnace and spread opium smoke throughout the city. In the fight, Xie Yan and Tao Hong had to die while trying to fight Wei. Seeing his two friends dead, Suchan became very angry and immediately kicked Wei with his flagship technique, the Fire Shadow Kick, which instantly killed her. After defeating all of his men, Suchan and Xiao Feng tried to stop Chao Kong and dropped the kiln on his body. However, instead of being injured or dead, Chao Kong turned into a superhuman due to the effects of the opium powder. Suchan and Xiao Feng immediately felt overwhelmed by him, who had become much stronger. In a state of urgency, Suchan finally used the drunken god technique without having to drink wine first, and finally managed to turn things around. All of Chao Kong's attacks could be broken by Suchan, even he could launch a counterattack that immediately overwhelmed him. Feeling that he might soon be defeated, Chao Kong used Xiao Guo to get Suchan to stop attacking him and let him go. Suchan was actually about to let Chao Kong go from there. However, because Chao Kong tricked him and wanted to hurt Xiao Guo, he immediately became furious and immediately used his flagship technique to defeat Chao Kong and destroy the Tianmen sect. The film ends by showing Xiao Feng, who meets Suchan and offers him to return to duty in the police. However, he refused and chose to be a beggar with Xiao Guo. The moral we can learn from this film is, stay away from drugs, because illegal drugs will only plunge us into misery, even death.